All right, everybody. This is how we do it. Welcome to the first show of 2024. Meltdown Ags, Texas Aggie Meltdown show is live. We have our first Surrender Cobras of the season. We're watching Colorado, North Dakota State. Colorado just came out to start the second half, drove right down the field, and then Sanders threw an interception in the end zone. Oh, my goodness. It went off a North Dakota State player's legs. And it's picked off. So how about that? We'll see if that gets upheld and, it stands. Right now, we're just goofing off. We're trying to make sure that the live stream is working, that the audio is working. And right now, we're not seeing much anything.
Okay, it looks like we're good.
It looks like we're
It's a little
going.
behind.
Yeah. Let's see what's happening.
Yeah, I think it missed the first.
Okay, well, we're about a minute.
That's it.
That's
all
all
right. We're good.
All right, we got
good.
our first comment. Mr. Sterling says it's working.
It's working, boys. All right.
Hey.
Good.
So, William, Bill, Mr. Bill, how's the audio? Because we're trying to make sure that our mics are working well, that you can hear us both. So, Casey, go ahead and speak.
That's me.
All right. Maybe a little bit more than that.
No.
All right.
think that was fine. In
He
fact,
says it's
we're told it's perfect.
All right. Well, that's what we'll do.
So yeah. Speaking of, it's no small coincidence that William Sterling is commenting on the video because
Yes.
he also called us out a little bit on Twitter a couple weeks ago, sort of. So I do want to just say, and we've posted this a couple of times on Twitter, we've been very silent on Twitter for the off season. There's a lot that goes into that. Brian and I have another YouTube channel. This year, that YouTube channel reached a point where we could monetize it. In 2024, it has made us literally dozens of dollars. And therefore, this channel that makes us no money has taken a bit of a back seat. We have very busy lives. Any chance we have to do something like this, we end up filming something else for the other channel. So we might link that later on or something.
Yeah, we might.
If you want to check that
So
out.
you can help us make $2,000.
$2,000.
That would be
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I fully appreciate Casey saying that, but there's also another reason that we haven't spent a whole lot of time on this channel. And I want to be more specific, talking about Aggie sports publicly. Last year just about damn near broke us for a lot of reasons.
Man.
And, look, it was a rough year in 2023 for a variety of reasons. If you watch this show, you know things took a really dark turn as the season went on. And you know what? Sure. We knew it was going to. We actually talked about that extensively on the show in one game in particular, the Auburn game, right? When Connor went down with his injury, we were very vocal and we said, guys, it's about to get really ugly and you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, we were correct and you weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
And things really did spiral downward, resulting in a lot of change. All right. Now, and things happened that reverberated right through the winter, the spring, the summer, right? Because of everything that happened last fall. And make no mistake, we were watching Aggie sports.
For sure.
We were really dialed into basketball.
Yep.
Basketball was a lot of fun. Baseball?
Even more fun.
Even more fun. We were there every step of the way.
To a point.
Right?
Right.
Well, right up till it wasn't fun anymore for about 2 weeks. But if I'm being really honest, okay, yes, we were busy.
To be honest.
Yes, we were busy.
Yeah.
The Aggie faithful made it not so fun, to be honest.
That is true. This has been, well, it's interesting because coaching changes usually result in a very hopeful offseason.
Yes.
And there's been some of that, but overall, our enthusiasm for sure is over the summer offseason dropped. And there's a lot going into that.
Enthusiasm to follow.
To follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that's, like you said, the Aggie faithful, the the boards are still just, as soon as you walk in there, you want to get right out.
Yes.
Like, it's not overly positive or overly negative. It's just bad. It just makes you not want to talk about football. Now, I will say there's probably an element of this that is just, look, every single year I plug in less and less to.
You have less time.
Yeah, well, there's a time element.
Yeah.
For sure. My kids are getting older. In fact, I don't know how this season is going to go for us. Soccer season is about to kick up, and I'm not going to get to watch the Notre Dame game live. I'm going to be at a hotel all weekend. We shall see. But there's also an element of, the more Aggie football seasons you watch, the more you've seen it all before, and the less you want to relive it, right? And it's not, did it go good or go bad? It's just that every single thing that's posted or said has been said before. It's uninteresting.
Yes.
It doesn't make any sense. And like, we're going to watch it play out and just realize it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't need to read it because I've read it before.
That's absolutely true.
I know what you're going to post before you post it.
Yes.
And I don't want to do it anymore.
Right. And so we weren't engaged in a lot of that
Right.
dialogue. And now that doesn't mean that we weren't. Listen, we're on Twitter. We're posting and reposting interesting things about the program. We've got
Shot tweets.
We have white helmets
tomorrow.
this weekend.
Not
That's
tomorrow, Saturday.
Saturday. That's really exciting.
Maroon end zones.
Maroon end zones.
Yeah.
Things that I mean, this is all Mike Elko, right? This is
Yeah.
all the Mike Elko effect.
Maybe so. I don't
Mike
know.
did all of these things.
Probably.
I don't know.
I
Maybe
have
it's
no
a new
idea.
AD. Maybe it's an entire new regime in the athletic department. But
Maybe
that's a
so.
good example of what we're talking about, is that people say really dumb things and they're going to, like we've been through several coaching changes. Everything that's being said leading up to this season, we've heard it before.
All of it.
Multiple times.
We've watched.
Everything is different.
Everything's, yeah, but no.
That press conference was different.
Yeah. We've watched every single
Practice is
coaching
different.
change. We've watched narratives about the previous staff change on a dime.
Absolutely.
Things that you've been told are a positive about the coaching staff for several years, all of a sudden a week later, those exact same things are a negative.
Right.
Right. And the new regime is killing it at those things. So, like, talking to high school football coaches.
Engaging with the Texas High School Coaches Association.
Oh my God.
The biggest off-season lie that I probably heard.
Yeah.
All right, was all around that drama, that
Dude.
supposed drama.
Yeah.
And that's probably worth an episode in and of itself
Yeah.
someday. But anyway, enough of that. Give you a little bit of perspective of why we really tried to turn down the noise, still pay attention. We made it through a great basketball season and a great baseball season that as soon as it started to turn sideways at any point in that season, like, all that negativity just flooded back. And that just, it sort of reaffirmed, our approach. So we just tried to survive the off season,
Right.
and just say, you know what? When
Show me the
football is
baby.
here, show me the baby.
Right.
And so here we are.
Here we are.
We have Notre Dame at home to open the season, and that's huge.
It is really huge. It's at night. There's going to be, I don't know, like 1,000 recruits in the stands.
Like 1,000.
Yeah. Somewhere, give or take. And
College game day is here.
game day, it's the game of the weekend for good reason. They just threw the slate
did.
of weekends, the weekends games up here at some
That's
point.
right.
I was like, yeah, all eyes are going to be in Kyle Field this weekend, because this is the game. This is the storyline that everyone's interested in. You're going to be packed full of recruits, and you need to win this one. I don't know if do we want to get into that right now, or
You mean how important it is to win the game?
yeah.
Well,
Let's
we might as well, because what else? I mean, honestly, going into week one, there's really only one thing to talk about in the game itself. That's probably selling it too short.
Well, you know what? No, let's let's talk about the offseason for a second.
Okay.
We've been accused of saying some things about Mike Elko that's not really true, I don't think.
Okay.
Or
I know where you're going to go.
mischaracterizations of what we said. When we made the hire, we said we think A&M just lowered their ceiling. That really comes down to one thing: recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, we shall see, but Elko hasn't shown us anything in his career to suggest that he's going to be an elite, like relentless recruiter. In fact, we were told by people that cover the program when Elko was here previously that he really wasn't that kind of relentless recruiter, that wasn't really his job. It's not really what coordinators do. It's not, to be fair. All right. But all of a sudden, again, that narrative flipped when he became our coach.
It did.
Okay.
The exact same people telling us it wasn't a huge priority are now telling us
but
he's all about it.
And we've, there were comments on Twitter that, oh, yeah, these guys have gone quiet because Elko assembled this great roster. I think it's a little bit nutty to give Elko credit for assembling this roster. All right. But
the majority of the roster. Where we do have to give credit.
Yeah.
We do have to give credit for the approach in the portal because I think did a very good job restocking talent on the team in the right places with experience.
Yes.
And you're going to see that play out, I believe, this weekend. There's a lot of upperclassmen on this roster. Right. Now, are they good? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys that were highly touted portal players.
Yep.
But there's a reason they're in the portal, right? So I do think the roster is more experienced one way or another. I don't know if the portal is bringing a ton of SEC championship talent to this roster overall.
Additionally, but I guess the reason I bring this up is because I think Elko did a great job, one, holding together the current roster, so now you're talking about, if you're talking about SEC championship level talent, the core of this team is still a whole bunch of that 2022 class.
The greatest recruiting class of all time.
Right.
At the time.
Some guys we've lost, but the core of that team, the core of that class is very much still here. So the approach in the portal this year, next year, whenever, needs to be, where can I fill in experience in positions of need? I think he did a good job with that.
Yes.
I think the hiring of Moffitt was massive. And in truth, I think we're going to look back over the Jimbo tenure and say that the loss of Schmitty hurt way more than anybody wants to talk about or give credit for, right? I think our strength and conditioning took a big step back. We didn't seem as physical since then, and I think that really hurt Jimbo. A guy like Moffitt, I'm really excited about.
Nobody missed a lift.
Nobody missed a lift. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not, okay. Again.
I still got a little bit of cynicism in my heart going into Saturday.
Yeah, for sure.
For a lot of reasons, and that's okay. Show me the baby.
But yeah, I'll maybe just in short, I think Elko killed his first couple of months here. Absolutely killed.
I think he did. I think he did really well. Everything. Yes.
Holding the 24 recruiting class together, the incoming freshman as best he could. Great portal additions, mostly great hires. I think a guy like Colin Klein. I'm not that excited, only because there's very few hires that would have got me like super excited, and that's a gap in my knowledge.
We will come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, but we'll come back because there are some things that really encourage me about Colin Klein, but overall, I think as good as he possibly could have done in the first couple of months to get himself to a point where he's got a great roster and to put a button on the offseason. I'm getting asked a lot, what do you think this season? What's your prediction? Whatever. And for me, I always answer with the same question right back. I'm wondering if you can guess what it is.
I don't know where you're going
Okay.
with that question by throwing it back at me. I'll tell you how I'm just going to tell you how I answer it. All right, that's kind of I guess that's what you're asking. But I was trying to read a little bit there, and I didn't do a very good job. It's horrible television.
No, it's great TV.
My expectation this season is exactly the same as if Jimbo would have been here.
Oh, okay. 100%. Yeah, I'm with you on that's not where I was going, but that's part two. Yes, I feel exactly the way about the season right now as I would have if Jimbo was still here, because my first question when people say, if you're asking me to predict wins, how many games does Connor Wegman play?
That's it.
That's it. That's all. That's the whole
Well,
thing.
hang on. Time out. We should probably amend that a little bit, because I do feel like the quarterback room going into this season, there is more talent and upside in that room beyond Connor than there was last season.
That's true. There were nice flashes from Reed in the
last
bowl
game,
and I think we'll come back to Colin Klein, but I think Colin Klein can. He'll be good with a guy like Reed.
And who's third string going into the season?
Rich the.
Why can I not remember that kid's name that they traded off? He played really well down the stretch.
Not Richardson, is it?
No. All right. I'm sure somebody's going to pop in.
Mississippi State, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Beat the tar out of him. Yeah.
And started to play better every week at the end of that season, right? Still was playing really well, stacking good games on top of good games, or better performances, the way I should say it. And I do feel like if something happened, there's some guys there, you have multiple options that I feel like might be able to come in and do something under an offense that, like you said, Colin Klein runs.
And can beat, Mississippi State world, right?
Yeah.
It's now, do I think we need Connor to beat Notre Dame, LSU, Texas, the bigger games on the schedule? Yeah, but it's not going to go in the tank if Connor goes down completely for a couple of games. But
so here's the comment. All right, Mr. Sterling. Okay, you can't feel the same when the offense won't be stuck in the mud and Jimbo was complete self-sabotage. Now, here's where I think this is why we said what we said when Connor Wegman went down. Wegman. I'm sure the Heisman Committee will tell us later on in the year how to say it correctly. I heard Jordan Rodgers this week talking about how great Connor is and how his upside, he's just gushing over this kid. And he started it out by saying, people forget what was happening last year to start the year.
Not us.
We didn't forget. 3 games into the season, almost 1,000 yards, completing over 70% of his passes. The kid was moving the football in this insanely old-fashioned, supposed out-of-date offense that people in the NFL still run. I don't know, right? It was moving the football. Now, there was a lot of sabotage happening in that offense, particularly in the Miami opener, but people forget what those sabotage points actually were. So just go back and watch. And go watch the drives and see for yourself why that offense ground itself to a halt in the first half when it could have taken control of that game at multiple points. It wasn't because they couldn't move the football. It wasn't because they weren't churning up yards. All right. It's because they turned around and gave it away at extremely inopportune times. But anyway, go back and look at it. That's actually one of my concerns in some ways going into the season, is that I have no doubt in my mind that Connor can run this offense. I think in the spring, he looked extremely comfortable making decisions. He was still hobbled from an injury standpoint. That kid could run one of the most complicated offenses in college football. 2 months after stepping foot on campus, he could run it better than the guys ahead of him on the depth chart. It was clear in that first spring game, the kid is a football savant. I have no doubt that he can run whatever offense we have I actually wonder, and I guess we'll find out, is it too simple? Is it not advanced enough to take full advantage of what's going on the field and take advantage of the fact that you got a guy running it that can do whatever the hell you ask him to do? We'll see. We will see. Maybe that's not valid. Maybe it's, but that's how I feel about it. But like I said, I want to see it in action. The other thing is that Connor does not have the kind of arm to throw the football 70 yards down the field on a regular basis. And that is a big part of what Colin Klein has tried to with his previous quarterbacks. He likes to really stretch the field. And we'll see. Connor anticipates really well.
Yeah.
So he's not going to wait to throw that deep ball. And that's how he makes up for the fact that, maybe he doesn't have the arm strength of some other guys. But that'll certainly be interesting. But play calling and detail-oriented position coaching are what I'm praying makes a huge difference. I don't know about play calling, but I do hope that, I do think the change is always good from an accountability standpoint.
Right.
At least in the short term.
Yeah.
And in particular, if you're successful or not. So, by all accounts, it does sound like accountability is up behind the scenes. It sure as hell was when Jimbo first stepped on campus for the first year and a half, 2 years, considering, the prior regime was well known for not being all that interested in holding people accountable. And then it's, whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
I'm just going to go walk over here while you talk a little more.
So the other piece of that Elko criticism around recruiting, I've seen it suggested that Elko's killing it in recruiting and all these fears were unfounded. Man, I'm here to tell you, Elko is not killing it in recruiting. He has not done anything.
Not yet.
Not yet. And look, it was going to be really hard for anybody to be killing it in recruiting in this cycle, in this offseason. We'll get more on that later.
Yeah.
But he has not done anything to quell those fears on my end, at least. Now, he's coming off, it's not a good environment for A&M to recruit right now. You got those guys in Austin are coming off a playoff appearance.
OU just picked up some massive recruits because they're also coming into our league, just like Texas is coming into our league.
Yeah.
There's momentum off of that.
Sure. So, whatever. But, so for a minute, I want to go back to the 2022 class because it's, I think, going to help people put the 2025 class into context, and it's going to help you contextualize this season and watch for some of these things we're about to talk about as the season plays out. Okay, we said many times before Jimbo was fired, whatever, stop talking about NIL like it's some magic bullet and that recruiting will always be fine because we've got NIL. It doesn't matter. It's not. Everyone we're competing against has NIL. They've got a lot of money. Some of them, like Texas, are the best there's ever been at paying their players. Okay, you're not going to be better than them at it. They invented it. Okay, you can't. All right. Now, you still have to have a guy that can close the deal and get guys to sign. It's always going to be that way, no matter what. So we get really annoyed when we see Aggies buying into that narrative around the 2022 class. And I see a lot of Aggies repeating this nonsense that Jimbo signed a number one class, a historic class, off of an 8-4 season, or whatever, right? That's garbage. That's not how recruiting works. He didn't recruit that off an 8-4 season. He recruited it off a 9-1 season, a top 5 finish, and getting jobbed out of a playoff spot. Okay? You can't flip momentum on guys who are playing their senior year of high school football. You can't do that. Okay? You make hay with guys playing their junior year of high school football when you're having a good season. Okay. And the 2022 class was playing their junior season when we were making a great run, going 9-1, finishing in that top 5. Okay. Texas was not doing well. I tell people A&M's top 3 class, at least in 2022, was sealed the moment Steve Sarkisian was hired at Texas. Okay. Because the 2022 class, and this is extremely important because we're about to see it play out again. The 2022 class in Texas was historic. An outrageously high percentage of the national top 100 guys were from Texas that year. And so whoever had the momentum in this state was going to get the bulk of those kids and was guaranteed to have like a top 3 class. They what happened to A&M. Okay. Jimbo was whipping Tom Herman's butt on the recruiting trail. They were panicking. They sabotaged their own coach and tried to hire Urban Meyer, and it fell flat because they were panicking. They knew the only way they could get that momentum back with the 2022 class was to hire somebody like Urban Meyer, and it failed, and they hired Steve Sarkisian instead. And that was the moment A&M was going to finish in the top 3. That's it. Everybody knew it back then. Only the casuals turned around the next fall and said, oh my God, how did A&M do this? Okay. Now, yeah, they had a bad year. Sort of. Okay. Remember what happened. You finished in the top 5. You've got a ton of hype coming into the next season. You play Alabama early in the slate. Your starting quarterback goes down against Colorado. You lose a couple of bad games with your backup. It's not good. But what happened? You beat Alabama at home with all those kids that you gained all that momentum with the year before, sitting in the stands at night, Kyle Fields rocking, huge momentum. How in the world did Jimbo win with Zach Calzada? And then goes on a run for the season, gets back into the top 15, has another great top 15 win at home against Auburn, okay? At that point in the season, you're not flipping high school seniors. It doesn't happen. Those guys, they had to sign in a few weeks. They made their decision. It's done, okay? Then A&M goes 8-4, loses 2 games down the stretch. But by then, you're not changing the momentum significantly. And I'm sorry for ranting, but it's important because
I'm letting him cook.
Because the 2025 class again in Texas is historic. I don't think is as good as the 2020, but again,
really
it's
close.
Really good. It's really deep. A lot of national top 100 guys in this class, and you're not getting very many of them because the exact opposite scenario is playing out now. Steve Sarkisian in Austin, he had the playoff run. You finished 7 or whatever. I don't even care what we did last year. They have all the momentum, and Mike Elko is not going to flip that momentum with these guys who are going into their senior year late in the season. Your only real chance to do that is to have early big-time momentum and buzz.
Yep.
And for Texas to fall flat on their face early. Now, you can still win this game, lose this game. You can then go 11-1, okay? You can go on a run, but there's not enough big-time games on the schedule early to recover the momentum from losing this game. I don't care what we do after this game, we're not flipping the momentum. There's not opportunities to do that.
Now, what you could do, keep going.
Well,
I don't want to interrupt this man. I really don't.
Not with this senior class. With the 2026 class, absolutely. You go 11-1 after losing to Notre Dame, Texas falls on their face, or even is just kind of 8-9 games. Even if they get in the playoff, whatever, we get in the playoff, we're going to clean up the 2026 class.
Yes.
Maybe. If Elko plays his cards right, okay? It's not happening this year. And so I just say all that to say that this game's really big. I'm not saying all's lost but I'm sure everyone's freaking out right now because they're saying, what are you talking about? A&M sitting at number 7 in the composite rankings for 2025. I don't care. You know why? Because that puts us 6th in the SEC. And because of everything I just said, I'm telling you right now, and because we've been through so many off seasons and watched recruiting classes play out as the season goes on, This recruiting class, when we look at it, has all the makings of a class that tumbles down into the 10 to 15 range. That's what it
Which
looks
is going to
like.
put you in the bottom third of your own
Right.
league, your own conference.
So I would say you don't lose this game, or if you don't win this game, you're not staying in the top 10. You're just not. Really, no matter what happens for the rest of the season. So you win this, you're going to stay about where you are. Maybe you flip some guys if Texas looks really bad over the next few weeks. And that's great if you can do that. But I'm here to tell you, no, A&M's not killing it in the rankings or in recruiting. But that's okay, kind of.
Well, this is the kind of recruiting cycle right now that if this was going on under any other regime in year 2 or 3, people would be losing their minds.
Right.
They would be in a panic mode.
Right.
But right now it's all rose-colored glasses, and people are sort of missing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And look, he has every opportunity right out of the gate to change that narrative with a big win, like you said, to create something early in the state of Texas with over 100 incredible recruits who are here. Where else are they going to go this weekend, right? Like it's not, you have to keep that in perspective. This is the place to be. It's a holiday weekend. Their football seasons haven't really ramped up yet. Here we go, right? This is College Station is where they're going to be. Take advantage of that. And let's talk a little bit because we've been going off for a little while.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. So thanks, Brendan. Terry Busey. Yeah, we did get Terry Busey in the last recruiting cycle. I remember when we got Martellus Bennett. That was such a huge coup to get Martellus Bennett, right? 5-star tight end. It does happen. You need about 6 or 7 of those guys in a recruiting class, right? You go steal one. No. This is the SEC. We're number 7. That puts us 6th.
Yeah.
You have to be elite, or you got to adjust your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you want to go into what our expectations actually are? Because
let's do it.
I think we might sound negative, whatever. Like I said, I do think Elko did a great job holding this roster together. I think this is a great roster, and I have high expectations for it. If Connor Wegman is healthy all season, this team should go to the playoff.
It should.
I see so many people on TexAgs. They're like, boy, 8. I'm just so burned. 8. I think maybe 8 wins is about what will be, and that should be good for Elko. No,
it's not.
Like, if this guy can't come in with this roster and this quarterback and win 10 games, what are we even doing here?
And let's make a point about that, because he didn't just walk into a great roster, all right? He walked into a situation he's very familiar with. This wasn't a guy walking in somewhere and has to clean house and bring his own complete culture and build it from the ground up. No, a lot of these guys stuck around because they knew him.
Right.
Like, this is Mike Elko 2 years removed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that building, those people love Mike Elko, right? So it's not ground up. This is as good as it possibly gets from a coaching transition standpoint. So your expectations really shouldn't change. If Jimbo was the problem, then by God, your expectations should maybe even go up a little bit. And I really am kind of sick of seeing people start to, oh no, this is year 1. Got to get your guys. No. This is playoff team in a box. Okay, somebody handed it to you, carry it across the finish line. Our concern is more long term.
Right.
It's actually more long term, and that was the point we made way back when. All right.
Yeah, because I think the team I keep thinking about, and before I say this, you touched on something just now that is really important. When I talk about that 2022 class, the roots of being laid down in 2020 in that season, Mike Elko's still here for that. He recruited a lot of these guys who are now juniors, and then we have seniors that for sure knew Mike Elko. So, yeah, he's coming into a good situation. The team I keep thinking about in terms of what the ceiling is for A&M this year is that TCU team that went to the playoffs.
That's actually a really, really good
It's
comparison.
a really good comp, I think. It's an experienced, coach coming in, making nice pieces in the portal that happened from a chemistry standpoint to work. We don't know if it's going to work.
They were all older guys. It was the most experienced senior team in the country that year.
Except that TCU team didn't have nearly the power in the trenches that this team has.
Yep.
The core of highly rated players that are now juniors who've been through off seasons. The strength of that team was those experienced portal and seniors and stuff. It doesn't have to be that way for us, and we've got a better quarterback. So the ceiling for this team, I think, is absolutely a title. It would take,
too many freshman snaps last year. But, you look at the offensive line this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's overwhelmingly upperclassmen, right? I think there's one sophomore that's in the, maybe even in the two.
Yeah.
I think that's not fair. I think there may be one sophomore in the starting lineup. Everybody else is juniors and seniors.
Mm-hmm.
The defensive line is certainly, full of upperclassmen. Strength and experience all over the place. Everywhere.
Lifting.
Yeah, they've been lifting.
Workout.
Didn't miss a lift. Right?
Yeah, I can't believe we weren't lifting weights before.
And relatively clean through fall ball.
Yeah.
Right? So they're in a really good spot going into Saturday. On the flip side, I guess we can talk a little bit about this. And look, I'm not an expert in Notre Dame, but there's two things going on with Notre Dame that actually makes me feel really confident going into Saturday, and I think is why A&M is favored. And Notre Dame's offensive line is a bunch of fish and sophomores, true freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
They're going game one to Kyle Field against that defensive line.
Against a bunch of dudes. Dudes.
Yeah.
Grown men.
That is advantage A&M, big time.
Mm-hmm.
Make no mistake about it. Number two, quarterback at Notre Dame is Riley Leonard. Who was Riley Leonard's head football coach last year? Mike Elko. Right? So Mike Elko, defensive genius, probably looks across and goes, I've seen that guy play a lot of football. I know how to handle him. And I think that's advantage A&M. So, because these are two supposedly really powerful defenses, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody seems to own up to that. But I think advantage A&M from a schematic standpoint and a coaching standpoint, just because of the familiarity back with the quarterback who's going to be on the other side. I do think that's important.
And I'll throw one more in there that I stole from some Texas poster today. So I don't know if this is true or not, but supposedly young linebackers too for Notre Dame. So a lot of nice pieces on defense, defensive backs, good. Linebackers, talented maybe, but inexperienced. Against a guy who's our favorite thing about Connor Wegman is his ability to punish linebackers who play with bad leverage.
Yep.
Like inexperienced linebackers do. So that's another thing that makes you feel really good this weekend. And number 4, let's just say playing the most perpetually overrated team in the country. Even more so than the one over in Austin. No, not even close.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't think this Notre Dame team's a top 7 team. But, hey.
I don't think we're number 22 or whatever the hell it is, 21.
No.
Not with a healthy Connor Wigman.
No.
All right, let's we're gonna have plenty of opportunities, I think, to talk more as the season goes on.
Yeah.
But right now, the question that you posed to yourself and then posed to me, and then neither one of us actually answered, is if a healthy Connor Wigman, how many wins does this team have prior to the playoff?
Prior to the playoff, I mean, I think the floor, if Connor Wegman plays 12 games, is 10
I do too.
That's
I think
floor.
it's 10. That's what I'm looking for.
The floor. I think floor implies you really can't win fewer than that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think it's a 10-win team.
It's a 10-win team. I'll be very disappointed if we lose or if we win less than 10 games.
Yeah.
I
think
that's
right.
how I feel going into the season.
With a group of upperclassmen
Right.
in front of him and at a lot of skill positions and some real dudes. People talked a little bit down about the wide receiver core. I'm not down on the wide receiver core at all. I think there's some good players there. And I think that when you have a guy who can walk to the line of scrimmage and sees things pre-snap and react at the snap the way he does, he's going to let that ball fly to the open guys. And,
let's talk about the receiver core for 1 sec, though, because what I'm hearing, and some people are going to go crazy over this, is that Moose is not really in the top 3 in the wide receiver rotation.
I don't know how I could possibly. I don't understand.
I bring that up only to say if that guy isn't in the rotation, then the guys ahead of him have to be doing fine. And because there's a lot of people panicking about the wide receiver room, and I just don't see it. I think they're going to be fine.
I'll just say this. All right. That guy has all the talent in the world. There's a reason that he wasn't in the top 3 for the last couple of years. And it made everybody crazy. I get it. That's fine.
It's not just Southern Jimbo.
The person who owns that is Moose. Bottom line. So if those things haven't changed, then the outcome's not going to change just because you have a new coach, especially one who's preaching accountability right out of the gate. So that's where we are.
So what? Are you
beat the hell out of Notre Dame?
Yeah. Okay. You wanna? That's it. That's all you got.
I don't know. What else? What else we got?
I don't know.
It's the sleeves. Nice, Brendan.
Right.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy football. There's a lot of really terrible games tonight. The only one worth a darn right now is this Colorado, North Dakota State. I think it's still 24-20 unless something's happening while I turn my back. So it's coming down. And everything else is basically a blowout, which is what you usually get on Thursday night or the opening weekend. But just enjoy games. Enjoy Saturday as much as you can. Enjoy your maroon end zones, your white helmets, maybe even some power. Who knows?
Who knows? After Saturday, we're only going to have 11 little maroon Christmas presents under the tree.
Right. That's right.
So,
and hopefully you guys don't screw them all up for us like you did last year. It was miserable. It was the worst season. We didn't listen to anything after about November. We just shut it down. And you tried to ruin basketball, and then you tried to ruin baseball too. Meltdown out.
All right.
We're done. Well,
my audio didn't go bad. You think that's a bad?
That's funny. No, it's not.